Welcome into Sports Memo's Betting Podcast, NHL edition. Look ahead towards the Tuesday card with Andrew McInnis. McInnis, welcome to the pod. How are you?
Drew, doing pretty good. Another week of NHL action ready to go, and it's been a pretty good season so far. Looking ahead to Tuesday's card, man. Tuesday brings some good betting opportunities, so looking forward to talking about 3 games here today. I'm looking to possibly make wagers on here for tomorrow.
Sure, try to get ahead of some of these moves. We got 7:30 Eastern puck drop here. Montreal at Detroit. Looks like 5.5 being the total here, minus 185. That's what we're seeing right now is the Montreal Canadiens road favorites in Detroit.
Yeah, Drew, it feels like I've talked about Montreal with you ad nauseum, and maybe part of it is because I'm a huge fan of the team, I follow them quite closely. I seem to know quite a bit of their trends and how they've been doing, but this is a team, once again, we're seeing a 5.5 goal total with them. I feel like on this podcast before with you, we've cashed an over with them. We're going to go right back into that trend here with the over 5.5 here. They've got a goaltender in Carey Price, one of the best goaltenders in the world. But this is a team that's been letting them down defensively every single week. And we've got a Detroit Red Wings team coming in here, Drew. And this is a team that might not reach 20 wins. And that is that is very rare in the NHL. This is a team 14, 43, and 4 on the season. That is a sad, pathetic record right there, Drew, except for the fact is that, Montreal hasn't really fared too well against them. They lost the last time they played Detroit. Actually, the last 2 times they played Detroit. So the fact is that obviously Detroit's not playing too well, but Montreal not too much better. I mean, just slightly above 500. They've got a couple wins in a shootout. But other than that, they haven't been too good either. And there's certain teams that Detroit has found the back of the net against, and Montreal is definitely one of them. So at this 5.5 goal total, we're going over 5.5 here. We've seen Montreal allow 4 goals against Dallas, 4 goals against Pittsburgh, 4 goals against Boston. Their last 3 games, they've allowed 4 goals. Meanwhile, Detroit's allowing goals ad nauseum as well. And I feel like when these two teams, I'd say pretty bad teams right now, Drew, come together, we'll see some goals here in this one. So I'm going to go over 5.5 for our first game.
And you bring up the Red Wings, man. I mean, a putrid start here. But, in terms of talking from a sports betting perspective in the NHL, is this a team where you think they're being priced correctly? Because, I mean, minus 185 for a Montreal team on the road that, like you said, lost to them last time out. Is it pricey enough? Is it too pricey? Do you actually think it could be a buy low opportunity on the Red Wings, or no way?
I could definitely see that. I'll tell you what, I'm not touching Montreal Canadiens here, but I do fully believe that there's a factor in the fact that Montreal has lost 2 straight to Detroit. Right now, it's all about pride with this Canadiens team. I'm reading articles every day, Drew, about are they in the playoff hunt? Are they going to make a push for the playoffs? I feel like hockey, more than any other sport, they start talking about the playoffs really, really early on. Post All-Star break, pretty much, they're talking about playoff positioning. They just had 4 straight losses that have completely gutted them. Arizona, Boston, Pittsburgh, and Dallas. That's the problem when you have a tough schedule post All-Star break. They had to win at least 3/4 of those games, and obviously they didn't come out on top. So yeah, it's a great question. And if you were asking me what my thoughts were, if you're making a money line wager on this game, I definitely wouldn't tell you, Drew, to head over to the South Point and put minus 180 down there on Montreal. That's for sure.
Okay, so maybe the underdog or pass in that one. We got another 7:30 Eastern puck drop, 57-58, the rotation numbers here. Buffalo at Ottawa. We're seeing Ottawa, the home dog here, just slight home dog, minus 115 to minus 117. That's Buffalo on the road. Total of 6 in this one, McInnis.
Yeah, I'm sorry for any Ottawa fans out there for what they've been going through with their team. And, this fan base has definitely seen some better days as well. This is a Buffalo team that just beat Toronto 5-2. They beat Columbus 4-3. They handled Detroit relatively easily. And I think the books are taking that win pretty lightly that the Buffalo Sabres had over Toronto. I mean, it wasn't just a squeaker of a win. They dominated the Toronto Maple Leafs team that's actually pretty known for scoring in bunches. And that defensive performance means a lot to me because one thing Ottawa has done this year that we can at least take a little bit of pride in is score some goals. This is a team that as they have bad defense, they're at least to be able to score some goals, but not anymore. They've completely slowed down. We've seen them score one, maybe two goals on average over their past 20 games. And this is a very generous price to me, Drew, on the Buffalo Sabres here. So we're looking overnight. I'll give out the Buffalo Sabres here on the road against the Ottawa Senators in a very non-intimidating arena. I would not be nervous to head into Ottawa to play this game, like how some arenas are some teams play much better at home. I'm not too worried about that for the Ottawa Senators here. The fact that Buffalo's coming off, 3 straight wins, more importantly, a big win over Toronto. I think they keep rolling here and take down the Senators.
He's Andrew McInnis. Find him on sportsmemo.com. We got $9 Monday, $2 Tuesday as well. We're breaking down the Tuesday card here for the NHL early look ahead. And we got McInnis, who has been pretty good in the NHL. Pretty good, probably putting it lightly. 31% return on investment since the start of the NHL season. No cherry picking numbers there. He's also hot in 5% plays. Those are the top rated plays allowed at sportsmemo.com, hitting 80%. That's 8-2 on those 5% plays year to date. So guys, check out his NHL rest of the season, $695 right now on sportsmemo.com with the podcast coupon code available for the next 48 hours. NHL 300 takes $300 off, just about half off there. NHL rest of the season with McInnis all the way throughout the Stanley Cup for $300 off. NHL 300 at checkout for rest of NHL season with Andrew McInnis. We got last game up here, McInnis, Carolina at Nashville. Game number 5960 if you're following along at home. 8 o'clock Eastern puck drop, 6 being the total, minus 130. That's the Predators in the Music City.
Yeah, Drew, I mean, you know how in some sports, especially sports like hockey, I think, where one player, especially a defensive player going down, could mean, a huge deal for a certain team. And that is what's happened here with the Carolina Hurricanes losing their defenseman. His name is Dougie Hamilton. Ever since they've lost him, Drew, it's been a defensive collapse for, we saw 4 goals allowed against Edmonton, 4 goals allowed against Dallas, 5 goals allowed against Vegas. This is a team that's getting scored on left and right now, and missing one of your best defenders is definitely, one of the main reasons why this is happening. And although this is, a minus 120 to 130 price here for Nashville, I'd recommend getting on this number as fast as you can, because I think this will go up to minus 140, 145, even 150 maybe. This is a Carolina team that's trending downwards, a Nashville team that's kind of gotten it together. And I love seeing teams respond, Drew, after a bad performance. That's exactly what this Nashville team did last week. They lost 6-2 to Vancouver, Drew. Right after that, they won 5-0 the following game. That is a bounce-back performance, a bounce-back game. Then they beat St. Louis back-to-back games. One of them was 4-3. One of them was 2-1. I want to bet on a team at the beginning of their streak. I sense a streak coming here for Nashville and a losing streak coming for Carolina. We're going with Nashville Predators on the money line. Best bet for the podcast heading into Tuesday, Drew. Love this spot here. Love the game, and Carolina's going downhill.
All right, I like it. So you can even find them as low as minus 120 right now at Bet Online. That's the Predators at home. And you brought up the fact, a long shot maybe minus 150. That would be a 30-point move. But you think this could really go to minus 140?
Oh, 100%. I feel like this is one of those ones that will definitely move. If it doesn't, I just, it is what it is. I'll take the cheaper price, but this is one of those ones where Nashville is on a swing here where they're going to start getting hot. And Carolina, the amount of goals that they're allowing on a game-to-game basis right now, like I said, Drew, I'm not one of the kind of guys that always exaggerates one person being out of a lineup, especially in hockey, right? There's 20 players. How much of a difference could one guy really make? This guy here, Hamilton, I think his absence has been a huge impact for this team, for him being out. And I do think we'll see a big swing here. I expect Nashville to get hammered overnight.
All right, so liking Nashville as the podcast best bet here. Guys, remember the coupon code, NHL 300 at checkout, $300 off McInnis's rest of NHL season. He's been great this season. Big ROI on the year, 8-2, 5% plays. Wouldn't be a podcast with me, McInnis, unless I asked you about the Vegas Golden Knights, man. Getting a little bit of a homestand here which is kind of long overdue for the Vegas Golden Knights. Do you think, one, they make the playoffs, and two, do you think they're a bet on right now, man?
I think they are a bet on right now. They weren't for, I'd say, a few games at least. Like you said, the homestand, they needed this bad. I mean, their scheduling. If I'm the management team for the Vegas Golden Knights right now, I'm upset with how the NHL managed their schedule. I mean, it was, an 8-game road trip, then 1 game back in Vegas, then heading to Minnesota, then back to Vegas again, then here and there. I mean, there has to be some type of impact on your body and the jet lag and all these flights that they're taking. It's good to be home, and I think Vegas will find themselves here. And again, we're recording this podcast on a Monday. They've got a tough game here coming tonight on this Monday. But after that, they got a pretty good schedule coming up here, Drew. So long-term schedule looks pretty good for them. I think they'll make the playoffs, but defense is going to be the biggest thing for them. They can't be allowing 4 to 5 goals a game. That's not the MO of this team. The reason why they did so well in their inaugural season was Marc-Andre Fleury and their defensive hockey, not their scoring ability. Right now, it feels like they're relying way too much on their scoring and not playing as much defense.
And McInnis, I know team totals seem to interest you. Follow him on Twitter at McInnis Picks, myself on Twitter at Drew Martin Bets. Guys, feel free to throw out any questions you'd like answered on the podcast as well. But team totals is something I've seen you on Twitter throwing out there. How do you go about handicapping those, McInnis?
Well, I wanted to just mention about mostly just the lower tier teams, looking at the Detroits of the world, the Anaheims of the world, those teams that are a little bit lower in the standings, Drew, that they get the 2.5s as their team totals versus the normal 3.5. And a lot of these times here for Anaheim, for example, they've been dropping games but still scoring 3 goals. And these day and age of hockey, we're seeing some incredibly high-scoring games where we're seeing a 5-3 and a 5-4 not being too much of a rare thing to see these days. So if I like a team like Anaheim any given night, I'm going to go ahead and just grab their team total versus betting them on the money line sometimes. Just to I'm more sure they'll score 3 goals versus maybe win the entire game. So sometimes I feel like in certain games, you might as well, for example, a lot of times teams that are playing Ottawa. Ottawa is a perfect example. I've been betting team totals against them all season long because, Ottawa is a very inconsistent team. You don't know what you're going to get from them from one night to the next. But the one thing you do know you're going to get from them is they're going to get scored against. I don't know if they're going to score 1 goal themselves, Drew, or score 5 goals themselves. But I do know they're going to get scored on. Their defense is horrible. Their goaltending is awful. So if Washington is rolling into Ottawa tomorrow, I might take Washington puck line. But sometimes, looking at the money line being, let's say, a -200, right, for the money line, but the team total over 3.5 was only -115, then I think that if Washington gets the 4 goals, they're going to win the game. You might as well just take that team total versus taking the juice money line or taking the risk on a puck line and just bet them to score at least 4 goals. And that's one thing I wanted to cover here in this podcast. If you're worried about, how one other team is going to perform, how about just back the team that's scoring recently, that's hot right now, that's finding the back of the net? Eliminate the whole aspect of the other team and just bet one team's team total.
Makes total sense. He's hit 6 straight NHL 5% plays, 8-2 on the season in his 5% wagers, and of course 31% return on investment since the start of the NHL season. Guys, you can get the rest of his NHL season $300 off sportsmemo.com. Andrew McInnis, rest of NHL season throughout the Stanley Cup, $300 off using the coupon code NHL300 at checkout. McInnis, man, good pod here. We got the best bet and everything. Is there anything else you wanted to throw out there before we shut this down?
No, we're good to go. Last Friday, I wasn't available to record for the Saturday card, but I had a few people reach out to me. So I'll make sure that Drew and I will try and connect again on Friday and get the podcast out for Saturday.
Yeah, and feel free to throw out any questions if you want them answered on that, guys. The look ahead towards the Saturday NHL card. We also got Mid-Major Matt and the XFL podcast coming up tomorrow. So, guys, stay tuned. Sports Memo Betting Podcast. Not taking a break for President's Day, anything like that. So keep on trucking out there. Best of luck with your bets, guys. We'll talk soon.